I have a problem. In some way, part of this issue might simply be the fact that I live in Germany and have to deal with the strange gaming habits that most quote-unquote gamers here seem to have. But even when I browse the internet, diving into different forums and reading various discussions online, there is something that bothers me. You know those people? You've seen them if you've been following Nintendo Directs, for example. There is a reason why the live chat is no longer available. Just as an example, Nintendo announces Metroid 6, Kirby Unleashed, the next big 3D Kirby game, Xenoblade 4, F-Zero Infinite Rush, all of that in just a single direct. But then you hear it. But where's my Zelda? But where's my Zelda? But where's my Zelda? Dude, it was just released last year. But where's my Zelda? And that's where my frustration comes in. See, when I was a kid, the games I had were pretty predictable. On the PlayStation 1, I had Gran Turismo 2, NHL 2000 and Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit. On the Super Nintendo, A Link to the Past, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Street Fighter 2. Safe bets, right? And it continued like that. Any Mario Kart, any 3D Mario, Zelda, Wii Sports Resort, Wii Play. These were the games my parents picked because everyone knew them. It was Mario, it was Zelda. They were safe choices to be good games. Sure, I do had some oddballs like Terranigma, Monsters Inc. and later on also Mickey Epic, but most of those were gifts from others. And as a kid, that's just how it was. And honestly, I'm grateful to my parents. Especially my ex-gamer mom, who I talk about more in depth in this video, and her brother with the PlayStation 1 who introduced me into gaming. In 2011 I discovered YouTube. Suddenly I could watch games I didn't own. I could see Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Luigi's Mansion, since I didn't have a GameCube, and I could even watch more mature games like Outlast and Slender Man, games I was a bit too young to play myself. Now, you might be thinking I'm going off track here, but stick with me. It will all come together in the end, I promise. As the years went by, I played more and more games and became increasingly interested in the gaming industry itself. But something strange happened. I found myself watching fewer and fewer gaming YouTubers, especially in the German space. It felt like creators kept saying the same things over and over again. Just like the little skit I mentioned earlier. It's like watching people say, 3D Kirby? Nah, I'm not interested, I'm too old for that. Xenoblade 4? It's too anime. F-Zero Infinite Rush? Why should I care when I have Mario Kart? But then, Pokémon Legends Arceus Remastered for the Switch 2 drops, and suddenly it's all, oh my lord, oh, something good, this direct is so safe, what a massive W for Nintendo. And I'm not over-exaggerating here, I've seen reactions just like that, some even outside of the German-speaking community, going into it just to see that one specific game, and if it's not present, it's all trash. There could be a new IP that's almost identical, if not just way better than the game you actually want, but they don't even pay attention to that game, not even considering giving it a shot. That's why I've almost completely stopped watching 95% of gaming-related content from my region. I even have a separate video on the whole gaming content creator thing if you're interested. But the craziest part? I have seen also people play a game like Breath of the Wild for 150 hours, calling it the best game they have ever played, praising it without any end, and then a week later they can't even remember who the bird guy was. It's like they never really cared in the first place. It's almost like they were just riding the hype train. But that's a different topic, now I'm drifting off. You see, here's an example. If you have one of those videos on YouTube you can find, or shorts too, best RPG and JRPG list, or also best game ever made. It's always just the same few titles, shuffled around. Top 5 JRPG. 5. Ghost of Tsushima. 4. Red Dead Redemption 2. 3. Elden Ring. 2. Final Fantasy VII Remake. 1. Breath of the Wild. And then on the best soundtrack, the list goes on. 5. Ghost of course, everyone has their own taste. And I'm not even trashing those games, those are all superb masterpieces. And all of that is of course perfectly fine. But here's the problem. Most people don't even try to expand their horizons. And I get the feeling that people outright ignore smaller and lesser known titles, especially on social media, because it maybe also isn't gathering enough interest online. It's easier to go with the flow and just say what everybody agrees with anyway. Take GameStop for example, they're like the IGN or GameSpot of Germany. Every month they release a video covering all the new releases. I like those videos. Without fail, half of the comment section reads, "Another month with no good games. Gaming is dead." Unless something like Elden Ring or Spider-Man or God of War drops, they will say the same sentence, just with an "at least Spider-Man is there." And it repeats for years now. It's the same thing in my personal conversations with others. Almost everyone I know plays Call of Duty, Battlefield, FIFA, Formula 1. They keep buying them every year, because they know what to expect. But when they get bored, which happens rather quickly, they will tell me there is just no good games out right now. Gaming was so much better in the past, I'm just waiting for the next Call of Duty. Sometimes they will hop on whatever the current hype train is, Valheim for example, and beg me to play it with them. But ask them a week later and they have suddenly lost all interest going back to Call of Duty and saying, "Man, gaming is so dead." It's like only watching Marvel movies, calling yourself a movie enjoyer, a mover. And now that the AAA studio creates more mediocre movies than ever before, movies are dead.
What's wrong with you?
It's just a weird take, man. And then these same people wonder why companies keep pumping out sequel after sequel, or simply low effort or pointless remasters. Well, it's because that's what most people are willing to buy, it seems. When I recommend something like, let's say, Metroid Dread, they respond with, "Why should I spend money on a game I might not like? That would be a waste." Well, okay, so I suggest then try something cheaper, like Ori and the Blind Forest for a few bucks. Ooh, isn't that like an indie game? Look, there's always a cheaper option, or a cheaper way to dip your toes into a new genre. Heck, there are even demos available. Indie games, especially nowadays, aren't what some people may call mobile games, flash games, or whatever way to downplay their greatness. Indie games are important, and they should be supported. And for the record, I think it's also very important for this discussion. It is not pathetic to play games that aren't rated 18+ or M for mature. You can enjoy Kirby or a cute 2D Zelda game as an adult. It doesn't make you weak or childish. Just because you played Donkey Kong when you were 6 years old doesn't mean you can't still love it at 30. Anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is probably an unhappy individual living a rather miserable life. I truly hope they realize it one day, but for now, please don't listen to them. Or even better, get rid of social media sites like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit and such. Most of the time it's just an echo chamber that ruins a lot of things. Overall, the same goes also for people who claim games aren't realistic enough, whether from a visual or gameplay perspective. Sure, I also enjoy realistic games, but wouldn't it be boring if every single game aimed for realism? After all, why do we even play video games? To do the same things in games that you could also do in real life? Or just to pass some time without really enjoying it? That would be kind of a shame. Also, why engage in console wars? Even nowadays, wouldn't it be more fun to discuss the things we don't have in common? And explore different perspectives? Or better yet, share our excitement for something we love in hopes of sparking that same excitement in others? We all love video games after all. Why judge cel-shaded games for being too anime or cartoony, even though that's exactly how the developers envisioned them? Or dismiss racing games or strategy games as quote-unquote boring, or open-world games as once again quote-unquote empty? I mean, it's all okay, we can talk about the positives and negatives together. Shouldn't it be fun to discuss things we love even if we are critiquing them? Once again, why do we even play video games if not to enjoy them? I always love to think back on two quotes I heard before. One being from Gabe Newell saying,
Be sitting in a design review and somebody say that's not realistic, and you're like, okay, what does that have to, like, explain to me why that's interesting, because in the real world I have to write up lists of stuff I have to go to the grocery store to buy. And I've never thought to myself that realism is fun. I go play games to have fun.
And there's also another one from Reggie Fils-Aimé saying,
The game is fun. The game is a battle. If it's not fun, why bother? But the game is also something else. It's a journey, a passport to new worlds, maybe even an odyssey. A look, a feel, an exploration. Close your focus and open your mind. But in the end, it's not just where you can take your game. It's where your game can take you.
This is still one of the greatest things I've ever witnessed in the world of video games, and I couldn't have said it any better myself. So many different worlds, both big and small, stories that range from lighthearted to heavy, and experiences that can be realistic or arcade-like, whether you're playing with others or on your own. There is so much to explore and love, so many games that you would never expect to be as good as they are, even those you would initially think aren't for you. But back to genres, it seems like most people don't even want to try something new, and if you're one of those people, let me tell you this. You have no idea how happy I am that I finally branched out and started playing more games, different games, starting with the Switch. Maybe you don't like 2D platformers, but you will fall in love with the music or the art direction in that game. Maybe strategy games seem slow to you, but then you find yourself hooked by the story or character development. You might surprise yourself. It's like saying you hate watermelon because you don't like green fruit, but then you try it and realize there's this sweet, refreshing, absolutely tasty red flesh inside. I mean, who knew, right? And if you don't like something, hey, that's okay too, but don't knock it until you've tried it. This was exactly my experience with Xenoblade. All things considered, I thought it was more or less just an anime game full of waifus. Not bashing it or anything, but that's just how it looked from outside. Considering the few things that have gotten recommended to me, videos and stuff on YouTube. But I gave it a shot after it went on sale, and after playing it, I feel blessed to have experienced what I now consider peak fiction. One of the greatest experiences in gaming I think ever had. Here's another thing. Everyone has their own opinion, and that's fine obviously, but I feel like so many people forget that you are allowed to have your own opinion too. Just because someone says something online, maybe even a person you really adore or enjoy watching, doesn't mean you can't disagree. If you love a game that others hate, that's great. And if you hate a game that others love, that's fine too. I mean, where's the problem? I don't see any. I am tired of the trash talk online, most of it coming from people who either don't know better or don't actually care. And it hurts sometimes. Alien Isolation is one of the best horror games I have ever played. The atmosphere, the alien and how ridiculously smart it is. Learning your habits and playstyle and changing its behavior accordingly. Beautiful environments and a great story. Don't forget the soundtrack and absolute superb sound design around the entire spaceship. This game still scares me even though I played through it multiple times at this point, even in nightmare mode. But because of a handful of outlets, who gave it a rather low score, because as we all know, anything under 8 out of 10 on Metacritic is trash, people decided to not buy it. It didn't sell well, and now we'll probably never receive a sequel. I am still salty about that. So, SparksOpus from the future here, and with future I mean just a few days later. You know, it's actually kind of funny, when I was talking about Mickey Epic in this video, I don't know if you can make any connections between them, but essentially just a little bit later Mickey Epic Remastered or Rebrushed was announced, and now I'm talking about Alien Isolation, and just a few days later the sequel to Alien Isolation, because it's the 10-year anniversary, is being announced. In early development, that is. And honestly, when I first read it yesterday, I can't put my excitement into words. I was so happy to read that. If this game turns out to be just half as good as the first game, I think I will be absolutely happy about it. So yeah, I'm very happy about that, and it seems that Alien Isolation 2 is on the way. I couldn't be more happy, man. When I was more of a casual gamer, I don't even remember hearing about games like Star Fox Zero, Bayonetta 2, or also, hey, Xenoblade Cross. I didn't even know it was a Nintendo game, like Mario and Zelda. I also didn't know that it was developed by Monolith Soft, who also helped develop Zelda and Splatoon. Both series I really adored. Maybe because I too, back then, didn't really pay attention to those things. And if you don't care about the industry behind gaming that much, you won't know about stuff like that. And honestly, if you don't care too much about gaming itself, just wanting to, I don't know, kill some time with video games, you probably shouldn't complain about the lack of what you would consider good games.
Play the game. Go to my Best Buy, right? Play the game.
A lot of people online still believe that Nintendo owns Pokémon, blaming them for selling the games in the poor state you see here. While that's not true, Nintendo not owning Pokémon, it's even today a common misconception. Despite numerous complaints about the quality, most people still buy the games anyway. In this video, I mention a former colleague of mine. He's as casual as a gamer as you can get, only interested in Nintendo because of Pokémon. He told me how terrible the game looks compared to titles on his PlayStation 4 and PC, which, for anyone with even a basic understanding of hardware, it is entirely logical. However, it seems that for many people it isn't obvious, and he brushed off the entire Nintendo library because of Pokémon Sword, thinking that most games will probably look the same if not worse. Considering that some people expect PlayStation 5 level visuals from the upcoming Switch 2, I'm not even surprised anymore. But you know what? I think things are starting to change. Indie games are gaining popularity, niche titles are also being discussed more and more often, and there is a wave of new creators covering more hidden gems. It is not enough yet, but I want to stay optimistic, try out more games myself too. You would be surprised how a different experience can change your entire perspective on things. And that goes for life too. Experiment. Step out of your comfort zone and stop judging others for things you don't understand. Life, your mental health, and the people around you will thank you for it, and you will be happier too. Sounds like a good deal, no? What I would have given if I had someone who wouldn't have judged the things I enjoy, doesn't matter if it's related to music, video games, sports, movies, hobbies and whatnot. It doesn't cost anything to be nice to each other. I wished more people would be like that, especially in a day and age like this one. Have you had any new experiences recently? A game you think is underrated and deserves way more recognition? Let's share and discuss them in the comments, collecting all the great games that are out there. Alright, it's been a while since I had one of those discussion videos. Did you enjoy it? Let me know that too in the comments. Thank you all so very much for watching. Like and sub is always appreciated. Discord, Twitch and many more links are all in the description, and I hope you have all a fantastic rest of your day. Goodbye folks, see you guys later.